say good morning, everyone. Welcome to JDB's Morning Cap. Today is Monday, April 20th, 2026. And we wrap up the first 2 days of the NBA playoffs. Today is day 3 of the NBA playoffs. Game 2 starts today. Game 2 starts from today to Wednesday. So we'll talk all the NBA playoffs. We'll recap game ones a little bit later as the show goes on. So we will talk about all of this in this one here. All right, so let's get this thing started. Let's start with the NFL. Yeah, let's start with the NFL. Let's start with the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles are remain open to trade A.J. Brown. The Patriots are favored to trade A.J. Brown to the Patriots. And they say A.J. Brown is likely to become a Patriot by June 1st. So there is a pretty good chance that A.J. Brown is heading to New England. Here's my question right now. Should they lose A.J. Brown to the Patriots? I'm more than confident that A.J. Brown is leaving Philadelphia because it feels like Jalen Hurts will have some guys like Devontae Smith and they're just and then Saquon Barkley, but the wide receiver depth for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's just Devontae Smith. They just don't have enough depth for Philadelphia Eagles. Now drafting a wide receiver either this year or next year would help the Eagles' cause. So it felt like there's a lot of stuff to be put it at, but you cannot abandon anyone that you want to really step up. But it really hurts them. It hurts them a lot more than we have to see. But it doesn't really matter where all this coming from. But that's the problem. The problem is you need Philadelphia to really get after it. And you just didn't. You would have think so. But it's going to change. It's going to change, because it feel like the Eagles are going to go downhill in the regular season 2026. And that's what Nick Sirianni, what we're going to need is you just don't need to fall apart. If you do, things could go on from bad to worse. You think this team could go on progressively worse if they lose A.J. Brown? Pretty much. They pretty much are going to lose A.J. Brown for a majority of different reasons. Because of that, you do not want that situation to be deflated. But the Philadelphia Eagles right now, they're just waiting to see how much concern are they after potentially losing A.J. Brown due to a trade. So it's gonna be interesting the next 6 weeks. So you might as well get that ready. Because of that, you don't want to go through the same issues over and over again. And that's that. So this has been a different story that you're claiming for it. All right, so we're gonna move on for that. The other news around the NFL: 12-time Pro Bowl left tackle for the 49ers, Trent Williams, reached an agreement with a 2-year deal extension, $50 million, which means he will play with this team through 2027 season. So here's the deal about Trent Williams. We talk about all these contracts and all that stuff. You remain with San Francisco 49ers the next couple of years. The biggest question: where is Trent Williams going to go from here in this coming off season? But it's seen a lot of things. But something you really want to claim at, it's a big difference that you're asking for it. But it really doesn't matter who you think that would think that one is all about. So it really claims it because of it. So you okay, guy. Cool. So I mean, it's really helping for Trent Williams and Brock Purdy. But you could really take this and all that. All right, so coming up next, we'll talk Wrestlemania. I'll talk about that coming up, and then we'll talk NBA playoffs days 1 and 2, and I'll preview Game 2 games as well. For those of you who is playing tonight in Game 2, there's three games in Game 2 today. First one, Raptors and Cavaliers, Hawks and the Knicks, and Timberwolves and the Nuggets. They're all in action tonight in Game 2. For those of you who played Game 1 on Saturday. So, and then we'll talk about the Mets and the Phillies. We'll update you that in a handful of moments. So, we're going to step away in about 3 minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back here. Wrestlemania 42 came to an end yesterday. So let's take a look what happened at WrestleMania. Let's start with WrestleMania night 1. So we start the show. Actually, WrestleMania night 1 main event, Cody Rhodes defend his undisputed WWE Championship against the Viper Randy Orton. But before the bell rang, Pat McAfee, Cody Rhodes exchanged blows, and then Cody Rhodes hit the crossroads to Pat McAfee, and then Cody Rhodes' manager, Jelly Roll, took out Pat McAfee, and he jumps over through the announce table. Then Pat McAfee gets stretched out for just in about in about 15 minutes. And then Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes finally collided each other in every minute of the match. And then Randy Orton hit the crossroads to Cody Rhodes, but Cody Rhodes was kicked out at 2. And then Cody Rhodes hit the RKO on Randy Orton. Orton gets kicked out at 2. And then Orton hits the RKO with a referee, Charles Robinson. And then Pat McAfee comes out. Looks like Randy Orton's gonna win a WWE Championship, right? But Cody Rhodes somehow he kicks out. And then McAfee tried to tell Orton hit the RKO on Rhodes, but instead hits the RKO on Pat McAfee, and then Cody Rhodes crossroads on Randy Orton. And ends up victorious by Cody Rhodes, and he retains his WWE Championship. And then a few moments later, Randy Orton hits a championship belt, Cody Rhodes' championship belt on Cody Rhodes. And then he kicks him at the end. So it was a fun match. I know Randy Orton should have won the match if it wasn't for the attack on Pat McAfee. Now, Pat McAfee has to force to leave WWE as an industry. So that is a huge loss for Randy Orton. All right, so let's move on to that. On WrestleMania Night 2, there were the first match of Night 2 was Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi. So Brock Lesnar tried to beat Oba Femi, but unfortunately they end up losing to him. And Brock Lesnar decides to call it quits. He decided to retire from the WWE. Was it shocking? Yes, it was. It was shocking that Brock Lesnar retires to WWE. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to get through it. It's tough. Do you think anyone respects Brock Lesnar? No. Not the superstars, but the fans do respect Brock Lesnar. But the superstars at times they don't respect Brock Lesnar, or guys are just never friends in the WWE. Although Brock Lesnar made his debut in the WWE in 2002 when Paul Heyman was a manager of Brock Lesnar. To Brock Lesnar, I should say. He's been managing with Brock. I mean, Paul Heyman has been the best manager in the WWE history. He already inducted the WWE Hall of Fame. Paul Heyman already inducted the WWE Hall of Fame. He was a manager for multiple alliances. He was a former general manager of SmackDown. I mean, he's mostly a heel manager. Paul Heyman is mostly a heel manager in his career. Then Brock Lesnar, look at his accolades. He is a 7-time WWE champion, 3-time Universal champion, 1-time UFC heavyweight champion. He is a NCAA Division I heavyweight champion representing University of Minnesota. He's also 2002 King of the Ring. He's also 2019 Money in the Bank. He is a two-time Royal Rumble winner. He won in 2003 and 2022. He also held the Universal title in the span of total of 750 days. That's the most by a Universal Champion in the history of the WWE. Wrestling. And then also, Brock Lesnar has snapped The Undertaker's 21 match winning streak at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, Louisiana in 2014. And then Brock Lesnar is also a two-time All-American. He's also used to play the Minnesota Vikings preseason only. He never made a full squad, but he played football too. So, what a career for Brock Lesnar. Does he deserve to be a Hall of Fame? It is a close call. I think he deserves to be a Hall of Fame. But although he's battled so many years, he's been battled so many years in his career. He's battled Triple H, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, John Cena. Kurt Angle. There's several guys who battled Brock Lesnar over the years. The biggest rival for Brock Lesnar, the top three rivals. Number 1 is John Cena. Number 2, Triple H. Number 3, The Undertaker. The top three rivals. And then Goldberg is part of it. And then Cody Rhodes, Kurt Angle. We've seen several rivalries over the past few memories. All right, finally, WrestleMania 92 main event. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk was a World Heavyweight Champion at the time. Roman Reigns was a 2026 Royal Rumble winner. And it was an insane match to watch. Roman needs to step up. But Roman Reigns pulls off a huge win to become the new World Heavyweight Champion, to beat CM Punk. If Roman Reigns lost that match, he would not be in a WWE wrestler again if he had lost yesterday. But now his career has been continuing to be saved for Roman Reigns. Now, can Roman Reigns continue his accomplishments? The question is, will CM Punk continue the feud with Roman Reigns? I believe they continue to do it. I think the rematch is going to be there, and then you got to inquire someone you just don't really know what this is all about. You can't really help that. So I'm going to ask this question. What did you think about WrestleMania 42 in those two nights? Was it great? Was it okay? Or was it it wasn't the same like last year? Well, the main event was awesome last night, but overall it wasn't the same as last year. Last year was great, but this year wasn't quite the best. But the night two main event, the night ones and night two main event was actually actually great between those two. We've seen other best matches in non-main event. Seth Rollins versus Gunther. Gunther won the match. And then you got Fimi versus Lesnar. Fimi won that match. We've seen other best matches that we ever seen right now here. So so it so this is incredible. Now we're all right. When we come back, finally we'll talk NBA playoffs. So we'll talk day 1 NBA playoffs and day 2 NBA playoffs. And then we'll preview game 2 as well. And then we'll talk Mets and Phillies struggles. We'll be back. Welcome back here. The NBA playoffs began yesterday. Actually, no, they began last Saturday. Excuse me. Let's talk about the first game from Saturday's game. First one was the Raptors and the Cavaliers. Game 1, the Cavaliers beat the Raptors 126-113 in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell had 32 points. James Harden with 22 for the Cavaliers. For the Raptors, RJ Barrett had 24 points. Scottie Barnes just 21. So when you think about the Cavaliers in their game 1 win, they shot 54% from the field, 50% from downtown. So there's no questions asked. But we just been talking about the Cavaliers. Yes, the Raptors shot 52% from the field. They shot 48% themselves from downtown. But the fact is, we've been talking about the offensive output for Cleveland. I mean, it was a lot of scoring. It was a lot of stuff to going through it. But it seemed to be proved to be the difference at this point on. But we had to trust each other out. Because of that, those games are really important to them, and they could have a chance to do it in this one. So you wouldn't have that. Here. As for the Raptors, the offense actually played well, but they snake bit with the turnovers. So how they can do better in game 2, we'll get to that in a second, but they struggled in game 1 with these turnovers, but they did shoot the ball well. They did, but they just need to stop turning the basketball over. That's going to be the case. So, game 2 of the Eastern first round series stays in Cleveland. Cavs with a 1-0 series lead. So, how the Cavs need to go 2-0 tonight. First, they need to shoot the ball great once again. Since the Donovan Mitchell era, the Cavaliers have been pretty good at home in the playoffs. On the road, they struggled. So, if I can win this game, they're going to keep their home court advantage. That's going to be critical for the next several games in this series. You do not want to let the Raptors reclaim home court advantage with a win here tonight. So game 2 is important for the Cleveland Cavaliers to go up 2-0 and not even up the series at 1 apiece. So they want to make sure they got to win a road game in the first round as much as possible. as for the Toronto Raptors, how the Raptors can bounce back in Game 2. They need contributions. They need some contributions and try to keep the game close. If you keep the game close, you got yourself a chance. Now you got your chance right now. If that's the case. So that whatever. Who do you think wins Game 2 tonight? Raptors or the Cavs? I think Cavs will win Game 2. I think the game will be close this time. I think Cavaliers will win Game 2 to go up 2-0 in this series. Next one, we got the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets in Game 1, they defeat the Timberwolves 116 to 105 over the Timberwolves. Nuggets claim a 1-0 series lead. Jamal Murray had 30 points. He did not shoot the ball well. He went 7 for 22 from the field, 0 for 8 from downtown. He was 6 for 6. He was 16 for 16 from the line. Nikola Jokic had 25 points, 11 assists, 13 rebounds. But Nuggets won ugly in Game 1 of the playoffs. They didn't shoot the ball great. They shot just 44% from the field. They shot 28% from downtown, but they still won the game. They're doing their defense and forcing some turnovers. And they're rebounding. That's critical for the Nuggets. Take Game 1 where you don't play your best offensively. Defense making enough plays down the stretch. So, Timberwolves, a big missed opportunity to drop Game 1, to win Game 1, but they dropped the first game of the series. Anthony Edwards had a tough game as well. 7 for 19 for the field. He had 22 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. He did have 3 blocks, however. But so not much of a showing for the Timberwolves supporting cast for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So this wasn't a worst case scenario. So how the Wolves can respond in Game 2 tonight against Denver? Well, I think Minnesota will likely get off to a better start and try to take control of this game if they want to even up this series. So Anthony Edwards has to be a leader. Someone else has to step up. So if they want to beat the Nuggets tonight on the road, this has got to be critical. You've got to you got to get off to a crucial start. You got to win Game 2, take home court advantage. That's gonna be crucial for Minnesota. For Denver, what Denver needs to do to try to go 2-0 tonight's Game 2. Jamal Murray has to be efficient shooting the basketball. Despite this, he scored 30 points. He only went 7 for 22 in Game 1 and 0 for 8 from downtown. The Nuggets need to be more efficient for the three ball. They still don't have Peyton Watson. And they need Tim Hardaway Jr. to step up in Game 2 to ensure the Nuggets go up 2-0 in this series. So that's the part I really want to see. Who do you like in Game 2? Timberwolves or the Nuggets? I think Minnesota has a pretty good chance to even up this series. I think Minnesota takes Game 2, and they're probably going to even up this series. We'll see how it goes here tonight in this one here. And then you got the New York Knicks taking on the Atlanta Hawks in Game 1. It was Game 1 2 nights ago. The Knicks beat the Hawks on April 18th, 113-102 to seize Game 1. Who led the way with the New York Knicks? Jalen Brunson with 28 points. 3 3-pointers, 7 for 8 at the line, 7 assists. But the big story was Karl-Anthony Towns with 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks. So the Knicks, who had to rely on their starters, even the bench play is small. OG Anunoby had 18 points, but he got injured in Game 1. So OG Anunoby is questionable in Game 2. And they're going to place, they say, Sharania said, they're going to place Anunoby in a game time decision whether or not he plays tonight in Game 2. So for the Hawks, they shot the ball well in the first minutes of the game. McCollum had 26 points. He led the way. But the offense struggled most of the stretch of the game, and they end up losing by 11. They just need to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker involved. That's going to be critical to try to take Game 2 of the first round. So, who do you like in Game 2? I mean, for this game, Hawks or the Knicks? I like Hawks winning in Game 2. They'll try to even up this series as well, if that's going to be the case. But I'd like to see what's going to happen here tonight, Game 2. If Anunoby is out tonight, then I think the Atlanta Hawks has a chance to play hard. I would say well. I would say well, play well and hard and come alive. That's going to be critical for the Atlanta Hawks to try to steal Game 2 on the road. They need to do that by going forward. So if that's going to be the case, they'll take it. And then Lakers play the Rockets last Saturday. Lakers beat the Rockets 107-98. So Luke Kennard scored 27 points, 5 for 5 from downtown. He was the best player in Game 1, even without Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. But Luke Kennard was great in Game 1 for the Los Angeles Lakers against the Houston Rockets. And Kevin Durant was out in Game 1, by the way. Kevin Durant was out because of an injury. And that was a huge blow. Now with the Lakers, how the Lakers could survive it, I don't know. It's a tough situation. LeBron James did have 19 points, 13 assists, 8 rebounds. The Lakers' defense was more impressive than the Rockets' offense. The Rockets' offense struggled. Without Kevin Durant, it feels like no one else has stepped up. The Rockets shot 38% from the field, 33% from downtown, 68% at the line. I mean, just really bad stuff for the Houston Rockets. Right now. And this is what happened because of that. You don't want to lose your stuff right now. Because of this, you're going to go through the same issues over and over again. And this is what happens. You're going through the same stuff right now. Rockets and Lakers Game 2 will be on Tuesday, which is tomorrow in Los Angeles. Game 2 is tomorrow in Los Angeles. So, Lakers up the series 1-0. So keep that in mind. All right, so coming up, we will recap day 2 of the NBA playoffs. So, we'll talk Sixers and Celtics, Thunder and the Suns, Magic, Pistons, and Trailblazers and the Spurs. We will recap from yesterday's game. And then we'll talk Mets and Phillies. We'll step away. Welcome back to JDB's Morning Cap. Let's talk about day 2 in the NBA playoffs from yesterday. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference first round 7 versus 2 matchup. The Boston Celtics with a dominant home win against the Philadelphia 76ers, 123-91. Jason Tatum with 25 points, Jaylen Brown with 26, combined with 51 points between Brown and Tatum. The Boston Celtics defense was the big story. As well, they held the Sixers just 17% from downtown and 39% shooting. The Sixers struggle offensively. So, the Boston Celtics, impressive home win against the 76ers in Boston. I got to ask this question. Should the Boston Celtics be controlling this series? Or should Philadelphia try to prove to beat the Celtics at any point in this series? Well, for the Boston Celtics, when you look at how they perform in game 1s, we've seen all of this. The Boston Celtics performing a high level all levels yesterday afternoon. We talk about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They both performing in a high level. That's consistent. That's a consistent stuff right there. You just been talking about. You got to play a huge amount of confidence. That's going to be critical by going forward. You're just really making. This one here, that's for the Boston. Meanwhile, for the 76ers, Tyrese Maxey did not shoot the ball well. 8 for 20 from the field. He did have 21 points, but just nothing. No Sixer player has shown up last night. So it's a tough situation to go through it. It's tough to navigate. So the Celtics with a dominant Game 1 victory. So the series in Boston will continue tomorrow in Game 2. Celtics leads the series 1-0. And then Thunder and the Suns in Game 1 yesterday. Thunder beat the Suns 119-84 to take 1-0. SGA led the way at 25 points, despite he went 5 for 18 shooting. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, went 22 points. Chet Hogan had 16 points in that game. So the biggest story in yesterday's win is their defense. The defense got it done time and time again. They forced 17 Phoenix Suns turnovers. They held the Suns just 35% shooting. So you talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're going to dominate you at home. I mean, in games like this, you have to play a lot of confidence because of it. And you see what happens. You talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, and you put yourself in a really, really great position because of it. If that's the case, then there's a lot of chances you could really make it out a little bit. As for the Suns, a really tough sledding offensively. Devin Booker had 23 points, but no one else for the Phoenix Suns showing up. Dylan Brooks had a rough game, 6 for 22. Jalen Green, 6 for 16. The Phoenix Suns struggled yesterday offensively. The turnovers, the missed shots. I mean, just nowhere to be found for the Phoenix Suns. So the Thunder goes 1-0 in the first round series. The series will continue on Wednesday. And then Magic and the Pistons. The Orlando Magic shocks the Pistons in Detroit 112-101. Paolo Banchero had 23 points. Wagner had 19. He came up huge in the fourth quarter. The Magic defense was impressive despite Cade Cunningham had 39 points for Detroit. But I'm impressed with Orlando last couple of games. They came off a dominant play-in tournament victory against the Hornets. Battle for the 8th spot of the Eastern Conference. And now stealing game 1 on the road. It's a really difficult thing to do. But they finished 49% from the field. They forced 14 Detroit turnovers. So they seen like this. Like I said, the Magic has won a couple of games in the regular season against Detroit. So I said this series is going to get a lot more interesting than really expected to in this one here. So Pistons have lost 11 consecutive home playoff games dating back to 2008. So hopefully the Pistons will try again in game 2 on Wednesday against the Magic. So the Pistons lost last night. The offense just 3-point shooting did not go down. And missed free throws have been an issue as well for Detroit. That's how they lost in game 1. And fouls. Fouls have been a problem yesterday for Detroit. And they need to stop turning the basketball over. So Detroit just need to do a better job in game 2 if they want to even up this series. If that's going to be the case. Then finally, we had the Spurs and the Trailblazers game 1 yesterday. The San Antonio Spurs defeated the Portland Trailblazers 111-98. The Spurs improved to 1-0 in the first round series. Victor Wembanyama had an awesome debut, 35 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. So what he can do better is get more rebounds. He only had 5 rebounds in this game. Steven Castle led the way with 7 rebounds yesterday, but overall, it was a great debut for Victor Wembanyama. The defense, we know he's been capable of, but that is all the cases where you only have. Those opportunities will not be afforded in this one around. For the Blazers, even though they lost, there was some positives from yesterday's game. Danny Avdia led the way with 30 points in his playoff debut. Scoot Henderson had 18 points. So there were some positives for this one here. So the Blazers, hopefully they'll get better in Game 2 on Tuesday. In this one here. All right, so the NBA award finalists came out yesterday. Defensive Player of the Year finalists is Chet Holmgren, Azir Thompson, and Victor Wembanyama. Tonight, they're announcing a Defensive Player of the Year award. So that's that. Coach of the Year finalists, JB Biggerstaff, Mitch Johnson, and Joe Mazzulla. Rookie of the Year finalists, VJ Edgecombe, Cooper Flagg, and Con Knaple. Most Improved Player, Keldon Johnson. Actually, Sixth Man of the Year, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Keldon Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr. Those are the six-man finalists. Most Improved Player finalists, Denny Avia, Jalen Duren, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Clutch Player of the Year, Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray. And then finally, Most Valuable Player finalists, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, and Victor Wembanyama. So tonight, they're going to announce a Defensive Player of the Year. Will it be Thompson for the Pistons, Hogan for the Thunder, or Wembanyama of the Spurs? So percent favorite is going so they're in favor of Wembanyama. So we'll see how that goes here tonight. And tonight is the Defensive Player of the Year. So we'll have to find out all of this at this point on here. All right, come next, our final segment of JDB's workout. We'll talk the Mets and the Phillies for the 10 combined minutes, and then we'll wrap this up. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back here on JDB's Morning Cap. The New York Mets played the Chicago Cubs. The Mets were looking to snap a 10-game losing streak, but the Mets were up 1-0 from the 5th inning all the way to the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Cubs tied it in the 9th, and the Cubs won it in the 10th inning. So yesterday, MJ Melendez hit a home run to put the Mets up 1-0 in the 5th inning off of Javier Assad of the Chicago Cubs, the pitcher of the Chicago Cubs. And then in the 9th inning, Mets closer Trent Williams was on the mound. With Michael Conforto up the bat with Kingery at first. Kingery was representing the time run. Michael Conforto, former Met, delivers a game-tying RBI double that Kingery scored from first base in the right field line off of Trent Williams. The Mets had a chance to score in the top of the 10th, did not. And then Craig Kimbrell comes on the mound. He throws a crucial wild pitch when Swanson was batting PCA advance to third on Kimbrel's wild pitch. And Swanson eventually strikes out. And then Nico Hunter comes up the bat. He had one hit coming into this. Yeah, he had one hit. He was 1 for 3 that game. And then he doesn't strike out. He goes after the first pitch, hits a fly ball, and then PCA able to score on Horner's game-winning sacrifice fly to hand the Mets their 11th consecutive loss. The Mets get swept by the Cubs. They finished the road trip 0-6. So I'm gonna ask this serious question: what is wrong with the New York Mets? It has been a mess in New York. The offense has struggled during this 11-game losing streak. Um, the Mets are batting .200 as a team overall during this 11-game losing streak. You know what's the batting average for runners in score position during this 11-game losing streak? They hit 145 with runners in score position, and they average over 1.5 runs per game, 1.7 runs per game, which is the lowest. And they outscored by the opponent by 43, 62-19. They scored just 19 runs and 17 total extra base hits. The offense has really struggled. And we've just been talking about all this. We've seen some good pitching performances in some games, but most of it they struggled on the mound. And the ERA during this 11-game losing streak is 6.25 ERA, which is also the worst in baseball. Kodak Senga is 0-3 with an 8.83 ERA. David Pearson's 0-3 with a 5.40 ERA. Freddie Peralta 1-2 with a 4.05 ERA. But Clay Holmes was great, 1.96 ERA, and Nolan McLean with a 2.28 ERA. They're both bright spots. But the Mets team is 7-15, tied for the worst record in baseball with the Royals. These two haven't played each other yet. But do you still have faith with Carlos Mendoza despite the slow start? Yeah, I think I still have faith with Carlos Mendoza. They can get turned around. But Juan Soto is still on the injured list. That was the reason why they're on a 11-game slide. There's no Juan Soto in the lineup because he's on the injured list, and the offense continues to struggle. It has been a disaster month of April overall. Disaster month of March and April overall for the New York Mets. Look at the Mets' offensive categories so far this season. It has been a major struggle in major categories. So here we go. The Mets have tied the fewest runs scored in baseball, which is 71. The Mets only hit 15 home runs, which is tied for the third lowest in baseball. 67 runs batted in, tied for the second fewest. OPS worst in the National League. Batting average, also worst, second worst in the National League. On base percentage, which is .313, last in baseball. At bats per home run, second lowest in baseball. Their offense has really struggled to put it together. The offense has really struggled to put this thing together. They got to straighten this out. The Mets got to play better. The Mets come off a 0-6 road trip, by the way. They got swept by the Dodgers, and now they got swept by the Cubs. So Mets will be home for 9 games. They'll have Minnesota for 3, Colorado for 3, and Washington for 3. So Mets will have a 9-game homestand. Hopefully they can turn this thing around before May approaches. All right, next one is the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies have lost 5 in a row. They lost 7 of their last 9 games. All have been at home. They lost 2 out of 3 against Arizona. They lost 2 out of 3 against Chicago Cubs. And they just got swept by the Braves. They lost 4-2 to the Braves yesterday. The Phillies are 5-10 at home. That's not good at all. The Phillies are 4th place in the National League East. The Mets are last place in the National League East. They really struggle offensively. The Phillies' offense has really struggled right now. Let's see how's it doing. Even they're middle of the pack overall as far as runs a game. The run production has really problematic at times. So this is what the biggest issue. The biggest issue for the Phillies is their starting rotation. The biggest issue so far early in the season is their starting rotation. Christopher Sanchez is not the reason why he's struggling. It's the rest of the rotation, including Taijuan Walker. They struggled to get that going. The Phillies rotation has struggled with the walks, the homers allowed, and the Phillies defense has struggled this season, by the way. The Phillies have made 15 errors through 21 games. That's the third most that's top five most in baseball. The Phillies defense has really struggled so far this season. And now they had a critical 7-game road trip starting today. They begin a 4-game series against the Cubs, and then they'll play 3 in Atlanta to play the Braves. This road trip is so critical for the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies are 8-13 overall this year. It has been a struggle. The Phillies is their second road trip of the season, so this is a golden opportunity to make things out. Yesterday, Kyle Schwarber hit a 2-run shot. That was the only 2 runs in the game. That was in the first inning. Other than that, they've been shut out in the last 8 innings. The Braves scored 1 in the third, and I believe 3 in the fourth or fifth, something like that. Or 1 in the second. I don't know. Hold on. I got it all wrong. Braves scored 1 in the third and 3 in the fifth. So the Braves continue to play small ball. The Braves are 15-7. They're playing pretty good baseball right now. Offense, base running, defense, pitching, they done everything right. under Walt Weiss as Braves manager. The Phillies are doing the wrong thing so far in the early going. Really disappointing. All right, let's close it out here of JDB's morning cap. So, what's coming up tomorrow's JDB's morning cap? We'll recap tonight's game 2, and we'll preview tomorrow's game 2 as well as it develops. And then we'll have NFL trade alert from last weekend. We'll update Dexter Lawrence. So we'll have to see how that goes here in this one here. And we'll talk all playoffs throughout this week and throughout the entire playoffs as well. NFL draft is 3 days away. We'll talk NFL draft as well. Round 1. We'll talk round 1 later this week. We'll talk rounds 2 and 3 later this week. So there's a lot going on in this JDB's morning cap. So a big week in sports. The big week on this talking podcast this week. So it should be fair amount of excitement this week, if that's going to be the case at this point on. So it should be in this one there. All right, that's going to do it here. This is JDB's morning cap. We'll catch you tomorrow, same time, and have a good day.